The news broke like thunder on a quiet morning in the kingdom of Arowa. Princess Adana, the only daughter of King Obadele the Great, had refused to marry the prince of Odan Kingdom. Not because the prince was ugly. In fact, he was tall, fine, and educated in London. He wore suits that smelled like money and spoke grammar that could confuse even the dictionary. But Adana didn't care. She wanted a mechanic. Yes, a real, grease-stained, spanner-holding, oil-scented mechanic from the streets of Lagos. The palace almost collapsed. When the king heard it, he dropped his golden cup of palm wine and shouted, "A mechanic over my royal body? Does she know how many cows that prince sent just for introduction?" The queen fainted immediately, not because of shock, but because she had already spent part of the bride price deposit on jewelry. The news spread faster than Hamatan fire. Every villager had an opinion. Old women gathered under mango trees discussing it like it was a political scandal. This girl won't kill her papa o. Imagine leaving a prince for person where they fix keke. Even the town crier stopped mid-announcement to laugh when he heard the story. But Adana wasn't joking. She met the mechanic, Chuka, during one of her secret trips to the city. She went to Lagos for a youth empowerment program, and one day, her car broke down around Surulere. That's when Chuka walked into her life, literally, with his dusty uniform, confident smile, and rough hands that somehow looked gentle. He fixed her car in less than 10 minutes and charged her less than 500 naira. That was the beginning of a royal disaster. At first, she thought it was just admiration, until she realized she was thinking about him every night. Not the prince who sent her roses in gold boxes, not the one who called her my African jewel, but a young man who wiped sweat with the same towel he used to clean oil. Still, he made her laugh. He looked at her not like a princess, but like a person. One day, she went back to his workshop just to thank him. That thank you turned into conversation. That conversation turned into friendship. And before long, friendship turned into what her ancestors would call abomination. In the palace, King Obadile was losing his mind. He called the chiefs, the priests, even the oracle. Everyone had one advice: force her. But the king said no. You cannot force love, but you can rearrange it. So he called the prince again, hoping Adana would change her mind. But when the prince arrived, wearing his usual British accent and fake smile, Adana said calmly, "Father, I can't marry someone I don't love. I don't want a title. I want a man who knows me." The prince smiled awkwardly, pretending not to be embarrassed, while the chiefs hissed loudly, "A whole princess! You want to follow ordinary roadside boy?" Adana didn't answer. She just walked out. That night, thunder struck the palace 3 times. The oracle was summoned. The old priest with his white beard and shaking hands said something that sent chills down everyone's spine. "The princess's choice will decide the fate of this kingdom. If her love is true, Arowa will prosper. But if her love is a lie, the throne will fall." Everyone froze. Even the king swallowed hard. My people, if you are enjoying this royal madness, don't forget to subscribe, you don't want to miss what happens next. The next morning, Adana did the unthinkable. She brought Chuka, the mechanic, to the palace. He arrived wearing his only clean shirt and holding a gift, a bouquet made of spanners and bolts. When the guards saw him, they almost laughed themselves to tears. You want to see the king?" "Yes," Chuka replied calmly. "Tell him the princess invited me." That statement alone almost caused mutiny. When the king saw him, he was speechless. Chuka bowed respectfully, but you could see the fear in his eyes. The king cleared his throat. "So, you are the one who wants to replace royalty with engine oil?" Chuka smiled shyly. "Your Majesty, I didn't come to replace anyone. I only came to love your daughter sincerely." The chiefs burst into laughter. Love? Does love buy fuel? Does love fix poverty? But the queen, who had been quiet all along, looked at Chuka for a long time. There was something honest about him. Something the princes she had met never had. Humility. Still, the king couldn't accept it. "My daughter cannot marry a mechanic. What will people say?" Adana replied softly, "Let them say the truth, that your daughter followed her heart." For weeks, the palace turned into a battlefield. The king threatened to disown her. The chiefs wanted to send Tuka to prison for misleading a royal. The people of Arua were divided. Some said she was mad. Others said she was brave. And in the middle of all this chaos, Chuka disappeared. Nobody saw him again. His workshop was empty. Rumors spread that the king had arrested him, or worse, banished him. Adana cried for days. She locked herself in her room, refused to eat, refused to speak. Then one night, something strange happened. The queen found her in the royal garden, staring at the moon and whispering, "Mother, what is love worth if you can't fight for it?" That same night, a messenger arrived from Lagos. Chuka had been attacked by unknown men and was in hospital. Adana didn't wait for permission. She left the palace at dawn, disguised as a servant, and rode straight to Lagos. When she found him, he was weak but smiling. "I told them, love no be for kings alone." Adana wept on his bedside. That was the moment the king himself walked in. He had followed her secretly, curious to see how far she would go. When he saw her holding Tuka's hand, crying like a child, his heart broke. He remembered how he had once loved a village girl before the throne separated them. He sighed deeply and said, "Maybe it's time I let my daughter do what I couldn't." Months later, the kingdom of Aroa witnessed what no one thought possible. The royal wedding between Princess Adana and Chuka the mechanic. No foreign princes, no gold chairs, just love, laughter, and the entire kingdom watching in disbelief. The king gave his blessing, the queen cried tears of joy, and even the oracle smiled. When Tuka kissed the princess, thunder roared, not in anger, but like drums of celebration. From that day, the kingdom flourished. The poor found work, the palace opened a free mechanic training center. The prophecy was fulfilled. Aroa prospered. So when next you hear that someone is too low for love, remember this story. A title doesn't make you royal. Love does. And sometimes the person covered in grease has a cleaner heart than the one covered in gold. My people, if this story touched your heart, I beg, subscribe, because next time, if it be your own kingdom, we go fall in love.